Yeah, I think we're going. Good now, everyone. I hope this broadcast finds you well. My name is Artorius Winchester, Scholar of the Dreaming Glade, and I think this music might be a bit loud. Hold on. Let me turn this down just a little bit. There we go. Yes, but, yeah, welcome back to, part 2 of last week's, Japan Zatsu streamy thing. Yeah, I hope you've all had a decent week. I have, mainly suffered immensely due to this heat wave, I'm not going to lie. God, I mean, part of the reason why I overslept is just, it's been very taxing on me. But, you know, we continue on. It's apparently only meant to last until, like, next Tuesday or something, so... yeah, I will, just simply tough it out until then. But anyway, I need to remember how to use OBS. Where were we? Yes, right screen. So, when last we left off, oh. Hold on, I've got the wrong thing up. There we go. That there. That there. Alright. So, when last we left off, I believe I just finished talking about Osaka. And we just got to day 10, which was the day where the typhoon hit in full force. Which was, yeah. Definitely a slower day on account of the fact that everything was closed. All the trains were gone, so we couldn't get... because originally on that day we were going to travel to a town up north called Kinosaki. Which was this lovely little onsen town. Very kind of quiet too, actually. I know one of my friends was... I think he was talking to one of the bartenders in Golden Guy, actually. Just about like, oh, you know, so you know where you're from, where you're planning on going. And my friend was saying, oh yeah, we're going to, you know, do Kyoto, we're going to do Tokyo, we're going to do Osaka. Going to go, like, near kind of Shima Yoshida, going to go to Kinosaki. And the bartender stopped and said, like, I have never heard any foreigner, like, know about Kinosaki. So that was kind of cool. Yeah, excuse me. Should have got water before this as well. Half an hour getting myself up, didn't get one of them. Whoops. Oh well. But yeah, so that was where we were going to go. Didn't happen because of the weather, but also I got cool typhoon shots from the top of, What's It Tower. Oh, let me see if I can find where it is again. Be around here. Oops, no, I've just gone back to... damn it. 1 second. It is... yeah, some of the stuff like this. You know, did get that nice typhoon on the right there. So, it's a bit of a disappointment, but also the trade-off is, like, totally fine, I think. Right, but anyway. We move on from our day holed up in a hotel, which we had to book last minute, because obviously our current accommodation had expired, so we were meant to be moving somewhere else. To day 11, where there was a bit more going on. So, day 11 we moved from Osaka to Kyoto. Luckily, the Shinkansen lines between those had been cleared the day before. So we kind of got up, had, you know, the usual, just head down the Konbini, grab some fried chicken type thing for breakfast. Got on the Shinkansen, stumbled our way over to Kyoto, where it was, if you can believe it, hotter than anywhere else in Japan that we stayed. God, it was so hot. Also, new day, new bit of music, and I need to remember to loop these. It's only fair that... ooh, that's way too loud. Apologies for that. Let's... there we are. Looking more like about there. Gotta remember to not fudge with the volume sliders before I start playing those. But yeah, anyway. So we got down to Kyoto, where it was incredibly hot. And we kind of went to this kind of fancy like noodle place for lunch, and I had this, which was this kind of like soba noodles and like spring onions and seaweed, and this... I'm still not entirely sure what the white thing at the top is. I think it's like a potato starch thingy. And they had this kind of like little jug of sauce with it, and you kind of like poured the sauce over the noodles, and then, at least I think that's what you were meant to do. That's how I ate it. Maybe that's wrong. Wasn't particularly familiar with this dish, but it was like, you know, cold sober. It was nice and refreshing. I wouldn't rate it super highly on the list of foods that we had over, you know, in Japan. Because yeah, it was like compared to some of the other stuff, it was okay. Like it was nice and refreshing, but I did not care for this potato starch thingy. I also don't know what the thing on the blue tray was. I don't think I even really like touched that. I was like, oh, okay, I'm full now. When I kind of realized it was there, because yeah, they just hand that singular thing to you on a blue plate, and boy, do I not know what it was. But yes, this was kind of like midday-ish. So we weren't allowed to go into our next bit of accommodation for, I think until 4, actually. Yeah, I was right. So for like another 4 hours. So we went round one of the shrines near where we were staying. I would love to say I knew what this shrine's name is, but that would be a lie. Yeah, but it was one of the ones very close to... Well, actually, it wasn't that close to... I think it was close to Higashiyama. But, yeah, I can't remember its name specifically. But yeah, lovely day. Sun was beating down, so we were kind of glad that, like, a lot of the shrine was kind of under the cover of trees. Because it was more like a kind of a shrine complex with, like, a lot of little mini shrines. Yeah, so you had, like, this kind of main square, and then off to the left and right side, you had lots of, like, smaller buildings and that. And also, I've just got to say, this backdrop here, particularly on a day like this, was gorgeous. Like, this was truly something. Oh. God, looking back at these now, actually, particularly because there's a bit of kind of more of a time distance between me and the trip. God. Really makes you, like, appreciate, like, when I was there, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna, you know, grab a bunch of these photos, like, excuse me. Still haven't quite woken up yet, apparently. But yeah, I was there because, you know, I was looking at these and I was like, oh, you know, grab these photos because, you know, it's pretty and I've got to show, you know, people back home and people on stream and that. But, like, just looking at some of these means, like wow. Like, you know, I'm in the middle of a heat wave, so the last thing I want is heat. But, like, I still kind of miss being around this kind of stuff. It's great. And particularly this backdrop as well. Like, I think I get a bit more of it in this next picture where you've got, like, a path kind of, like, out of the shrine. These, you know, like big Torii gate and that, and it leads into this really, like, picturesque, like, little park, which was also super cool to hang around. Like I say, it's just very scenic. Like, it's the sort of thing where you, like, you go into it and then you come out and you're like, I am, like, you know, I am, like, mentally, spiritually refreshed, you know? It's a great little place to be, and yeah, it had this kind of, like, very shallow river running all the way through it. Well, it was like a very shallow... I guess it was very shallow at the time because I guess the typhoon had fucked with how much it was flowing? Maybe? But there was this pool at the bottom that was filled with, like, a bunch of fish. And also, this lad had a really nice shot of this heron. At least I think it's a heron. Bird people, feel free to correct me. Are bird people ornithologists? I want to say they're ornithologists, but, I could be wrong on that. But, yes, people whose expertise is birds, or bird people, whichever you prefer, do let me know what this is, but I'm pretty sure it's a heron of some form. Oh, and another cool thing about this park, actually, and it's probably the last thing you think of when you think, oh yeah, we're going to, you know, a nice scenic park, what we're going to see there, it's going to be, like, cool. Drain covers! Look how cute this thing is! This is, like, great. And, like, every single little, like, kind of, like, manhole cover in Japan has these, like, kind of really pretty illustrations on them. Like, it's not, you know, like in other countries where it's just, you know, you get a fucking metal slab. They're all, like, you know, detailed. So this one in the park was all, like, Pokemon, like, you know, themed, which was cool. God, excuse me. But yeah, this one was Pokemon themed. A lot of the other ones around, like, the other shrines had, like, kind of like, you know, shrine iconography on them, I guess. So cute. Yeah, it is. Yeah. This is like the only one I got a photo of because this one was like particularly like, that's adorable. But, yeah. This you know, it's just a nice little kind of, like, care and attention to detail on how things look. But, yeah. And then so we moved from there, had, you know, a little while there. I think I had some really nice, mango shaved ice or something. In the middle of that park as well, which is really cool. Don't have a photo of it, but trust me, it was nice. So we went from there, and then we moved into the kind of streets around where we were staying. So we had this giant pagoda here, and also around where we were staying, there was a lot of these like kind of small, narrow streets with like a lot of different kind of like local vendors selling you know, stuff. You know, so you had like this place selling a bunch of traditional like sweets and like, you know, matcha teas and that. Other places selling like a load of like hairpins and chopsticks and all that kind of stuff. In fact, you had a couple of places that just sold chopsticks. Like, they just specialized in it. You could buy some for, like, you know... I'll get over these yawns in a minute, I promise. Yeah, you can buy chopsticks for, like, 500 yen or 5 million yen, depending on how, like, you know, encrusted with various different things and, you know, like, gemstones and, like, how ornate and patterned you wanted them to be. I did actually pick up a couple there. Because there was some really good-looking stuff. Not the 5 million ones, but, yeah, like a respectable looking pair. And then we finally got to move to our accommodation for that evening. Now, this was the view out of our window. So we were in, I believe it was called Higashiyama-so, which is a traditional, like, Japanese ryokan. So, for those of you who don't know what a ryokan is, it's like a very traditional Japanese inn. So, you know, we're talking, like, you're sleeping on, like, the tatami mats and the futons. You've got the sliding doors, you know. It was a, you know, obviously a lot more, upmarket than the hostels we'd been staying in, or hostels are like random hotels. Oh, come on, stop yawning. Oy. But yeah, it was a lot more upmarket, and, like, the view from this place was really cool. Yeah. I don't think I got many, like, other photos of the place, but, actually, no, I tell a lie, I did. They just come up a bit later. But, yeah, so we had, like, this view, obviously. They gave us, like, kimonos. No, not kimonos, my bad. Yukatas, I think. I think it's yukatas, yeah. That we could, like, wear while we were going around as, like, you know, kind of, like, loungewear. I mean, like if things have full-on yukatas as, like, loungewear, you know it's a classy place. And it had, like, its own onsen in the basement, which was also great. I'll be honest, I would have appreciated some showers as well. Like, when I want to get washed in the morning, sitting in a hot bath for half an hour is perhaps, you know, like, it's a great slow start to the day, but, you know, we were traveling. We wanted to do things. We wanted to just, you know, get showered, get gone. So while it was nice, you know, it was... like, a cold shower would have gone a long way there, particularly in the heat of Kyoto, because, my God... I mean, it was so hot. And this is coming from a man sitting in a heat wave. It's so hot. But yeah. So, we kind of, you know, deposited our bags, got into our new digs, and then went out because we'd heard there was a festival going on that evening, one of the last few of the season. So, we went to this place here, which is like a bit more in the kind of towny bit of Kyoto, I guess. Next to this giant river. Like, no handrails or anything. They clearly trust their drunk people to, you know, not end up swimming in it. Which is... I just feel like you wouldn't see that, because, like, you can see how fast this river is traveling here. Like that bit where it all goes white and foamy, there's, like, a drop onto some rocks there. Sorry again. And it's not a particularly steep drop. But, like, the water is going fast enough where that, like, if you fell in this thing, you would just fucking die. Like, but yes, there was this riverbank there, and then we walked up the river a bit, and it got a bit later. And I've only really got, like, one kind of crappy photograph of this, but it, hear me out. I was a couple of beverages in, so I was not in prime cameraman form, shall we say. But yeah, so I got this photo. Now, what you might notice is that hill in the background is kind of ever so slightly on fire, which is the point of this festival. So that is fire in the shape of the kanji for like Oki, well, or Dai, I guess, which means big. And basically, the point of this festival is that you get a bunch of people like along the river or around, you know, one of these mountains. They set a bunch of them on fire, all with different kanji symbols. They burn out, everyone has a great time, and then goes and, like, you know, goes to their respective drinking establishments and has a bit of a piss-up, really. So, yeah, you know, we were, you know, a couple of cans in hand. Or a couple of tinnies, as we should say. Because we actually met someone up there. Who was kind of from the, you know, north of England. And he'd been, like, teaching English over there for a decade. So he'd been living in Kyoto for, you know, about 8-9 years or something. He'd, yeah, you know, obviously he'd become fluent in his time, knew all the kind of tips and tricks, and really helped us, actually, kind of, on our trip through the rest of, Kyoto. But yeah, so this was kind of like, it was a much better spectacle to see in person. Like I said, I can only apologize for the camera work here being kind of like, dodgy, shall we say, but I was inebriated, so, why am I still yawning? God damn it. Maybe if I stop mentioning it. But yeah, because there were several of these hills on fire, but like this was the only one this is like the only decent photograph I had. I didn't get any decent photographs of like the kanji on the other hills, because they were just too far away from my phone to resolve, and also I couldn't, probably couldn't stand still enough at that point. And then yeah, so we saw these, it was cool, and then we headed for another night out. One thing we did see on our night out, actually, which was pretty unique and cool, was this fella here. Now, for those of you who don't know what you're looking at, this is actually a salamander, and he should not be on, like, one of the little bits next to the river. We're pretty sure, like, the typhoon displaced him from wherever he was. But yeah, so he was just kind of a little guy, just sitting there. Which was very cool and groovy. Yeah, and it's also not something, I think not something even, like, you know, well, not something most people see every day, even people native to Japan. So, that was, like, a cool find, I guess. And then I think I'm going to keep the music the same for a bit, because it's only been on for, like, a few minutes. As we head into day 12. Now, this was breakfast at the ryokan. So, you can kind of see me here, and, like, on the yukata they gave me. I guess this is kind of a, excuse me, kind of a shot of that. But yeah, this breakfast was, it was definitely something. So, I'll try and point out what it all was. So, the bottom left of my tray there is a bowl of, you know, good hearty rice. Bottom right is some miso soup. The middle here, so we've got a piece of, like, grilled fish with, I'm trying to remember what the white and pink thing is. I think it might be, like, radish or something. Maybe not. But, it's, you know, it's kind of vegetable in that vein. And some tamago, this kind of like block of like omelet, I guess. We had some kind of like potatoes and this kind of... Is this weird sauce that almost made me want to call them pickled, but they weren't quite pickled. We had some kind of like cooked peppers and that were very... They were covered in this very goopy sauce, I'd say. Goopy is the word I'd go for. It was very odd. We had some kind of like... I can't even remember what these three at the back are. I remember they kind of tasted... one of them tasted quite strong. I can't remember the other two. And then in this silver kind of contraption with the fire below it, on the top right, we have what's essentially kind of like... it's like a chicken being kind of boiled in a broth. I think the idea is, you know, you took some out of there, you put it in the soy sauce, you ate it up. Now, I'll be honest... It was very early in the morning, it was very hot, and this decision is somewhat influenced by the fact that while trying to fish some of the chicken out of here, I tipped the broth over myself and burnt one of my hands, which is not great. But I've got to be honest, I think for all of the fanciness, like, I respect the work that's gone into preparing each of these small dishes, but what my time in Japan has taught me is that I'm a man who wants a single big bowl of something that I can put in my face and enjoy. I don't want to have to micromanage my meals. Like, this is, you know, particularly for so early in the morning, this is a bit much. I can't say I'm a fan of set meals, which is a shame, because like I said, this is a very, you know, a very classy, very traditional Japanese breakfast, but I just wasn't feeling it. On the whole. unlike lunch, which, to be fair, I haven't got the best photo of it, but this was a kind of like a very, quite fancy, like, beef curry with some rice and, like, you know, I guess what counts as, like, a sparse few vegetables on the top. This shit was amazing. I loved this. I kind of wish I'd got the photo of, like, before I poured the curry on, but, yeah, this, loved it. Would absolutely recommend, having it while you're over in Japan. Although I feel like the curries over there are one of those things I can have, like, want there. The curries, this is such a weird comparison because the flavor profile is, I can assure you, is nothing the same, but the Japanese curries, to me, I think, are kind of like cream eggs, where I desperately, like, you know, I'll sometimes just, like, desperately crave one, and then I'll eat it, and I'll be like, right, I don't want that again for, like, at least a year. Or, like, you know, a couple of months or something, because it's just like, yeah, that was great, but I'm done with it now. Oh. But all the same, it has been a little while now, and I could give it another month and I'll probably be all for this, but like I could kind of go for this again. It was really nice. Like, this is one of the top meals I had there, but it was one of those ones like, great, fantastic. I do not want it every day, because it would get way too much. So yeah, this was, I forgot to tell you where we got this actually, because obviously we just jumped straight from the ryokan to this. So this was, a short train journey away from our ryokan and from Kyoto, I guess, itself. Although it's probably still within the Kyoto area. Actually, no, I guess it doesn't work like Tokyo, so it probably is a little out of Kyoto. But this is in a place called Nara, which is kind of close to Kyoto, but has a couple of pretty neat things going for it. The one neat thing we were heading towards was the deer park, which was great. So the Nara deer park is essentially this. It's this bit of, like, it's this giant park. It's got obviously a bunch of old like shrines and that in it. What's the word? I've totally forgotten the other half of that sentence. Yeah, so it's this giant park, has a bunch of shrines in it, but also has, as you can see here, all these tame deer. And like I said, they're perfectly tame. Like, you can go up to them, you know, they sell these little cracker things, you can feed them. And they're, like, tame to the point where, like, if you bow at them, they'll bow back, and then the idea is you're meant to feed them after they do that. Which is so, like, cool and weird. Yeah. And also, the park itself is, like, very, picture skew, shall we say. Like, you know, lots of, just lots of, you know, stuff out there, the hustle and bustle of everything. Yeah, I mean, not much more to say on this other than just, damn, that's a nice view. And obviously we were walking around a lot of this, you know, in and out through different bits of the park and that, because there was some quieter, like, more naturey areas. And there was the kind of bits with the shrines which were, like, had a bit more foot traffic, and because they had a bit more foot traffic, they had a fuck ton more deer. Because the deer know what they're getting into. They're like, hey, you know, I know you're here to feed me, like, run that, essentially. And speaking of the deer, actually, look at this delightful young gentleman we caught just kind of lazing around, having a good time. Because some of them had, like, proper big horns as well. Like, you know, there's some of them you go up to feed, it's like, blooming hell, I hope they take kindly to this, because I'm getting fucking gored if not. But yeah, no, they're all pretty chill there. I think we only had, like, one that, like, kind of nudged my friends, like, a bit when they stopped feeding them. It's like, we've got none of your biscuits left, like, because the special, like, deer biscuits they sell you to feed them. It's like, we've got no biscuits left, and you just kept nudging them. It's like, no, please. But, yeah. So, as I said, there are also some, you know, shrines and that, and of course, more importantly, for our point, there was this, which is a giant Buddhist temple. Now, Buddhist temples differ from the shrines, obviously. They're, you know, I guess while the shrines serve specific, like, individual deities and that, the Buddhist temples are more, like, in service of the Buddha, I believe. Well, not in service of them, because, like, again, that's not how Buddhism works, but also Japan has a really weird relationship with Buddhism, because they have Buddhist gods. It's complicated. I think I probably brought it up last stream. But, yeah. So, we went inside this Buddhist temple, and let me tell you, the scale, like, this photo does not capture the scale of this thing adequately. But the sheer scale of the size of these statues was, like, like, this was, like, about... I couldn't give it to you in building stories, so I'm really bad at estimating that, but, like, this was, like... I want to say, like, 15... Like, what? 15 times... I'm trying to work out, it was, like, I've had to estimate, I'd say it's about, like, 15 Ms high, so that's roughly... Yeah, I guess, like, roughly, like, 90 foot high. If I've done my maths right there, which I'm pretty sure I have. 15 times 6 is, yeah, 90. But yeah, the scale on these things was just ridiculous. Because, like, again, the perspective doesn't do it justice, because this wall, like, you can see how tall, I guess, this person on the right here is compared to the wall, and then how much the gold towers above that maybe, like, gives you a sense of scale there. Or at least it's the best sense of scale I've got. But it was just madness. And they had this, like, this full, like, replica of the temple grounds that was on something silly, like a 1 to, like, 75, maybe, scale. I've just realised my text is wrong. 1 second. Because we are in Kyoto. Whoops, probably should have changed that earlier. Oh well. But yeah, the sheer scale on this thing was, like, insane. And particularly for how long ago it was built as well. Like, you imagine, without modern construction equipment, like, the amount of, like, effort this must have taken to build. It's madness. Like, God, a relic from a different time, really. Oh. And, yeah, oh, I know what this was, yeah. I was trying to work out, like, what have I put this photo in here for? I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of a bit late in the evening once we'd gone around Nara Park. Done a couple of other things. We'd come back to Kyoto for the evening. This is just outside the station, actually, Kyoto Tower, and then we would get, like, buses from here to Aryokan to go to bed for the night. And that concludes our second day in Tokyo, not Tokyo, Kyoto, technically. Which, yeah, because we didn't spend too many days in Kyoto. We were on a very tight schedule because at this point I'm traveling with 2 of my friends. One of them has been there with us from the start. One of them could only get 2 weeks off work, so we met him in Osaka. He's done Osaka with us, he's done Kyoto with us, and we're going to go back to Tokyo to do a couple of things that me and the first friend, who's been here the whole time, didn't do. And also to have, like, a recap day for my second friend, who obviously wouldn't have been to Tokyo yet at this point. So yeah, we were on a very tight schedule here. Which meant we had to really make the most of this last day in Kyoto, which is our next day, day 12. And I will switch the music here, because as fitting as Ekritique is, for, this, it's, also, you know, liable to get old. So let's do this. This is nice and dramatic. Okay. Turn it down a little bit. There we go. So day 12, we are off to do, well, a lot of what, well, as much as we can. I say not a lot, because Kyoto's a huge place, but a fair amount of what we set out to do in our time here. We also happened to stumble across a much closer bit of, remember that big kanji that I said was on fire? You can see the hill there, or at least the kind of bits of scorched earth where everything was on fire. So that was very cool. We just happened across that on our way to various other things. And speaking of various other things, our first stop on the various other things tour was Kinkoji. Not Ginkoji, that's the silver one. Kingoji, which is the Golden Temple, which is very picturesque. Yeah, they've got a whole, like, you know, different shrine grounds thing you can walk around, and obviously, so this is us in summer, but they've got photos of the Golden Temple in each different season. And, like, the landscape changes you can see in each different season. Like, this thing is probably worth, you know, poking your head around. Like, particularly if you lived in Kyoto, or anywhere near it, like even Osaka. It'd be worth making the trip up to see this thing, like, 4 times a year, once in each season. Because, like, you know, imagine that again, but, like, with all the autumn, like, kind of red colors. Or again with all the white snow, or again with all, like, you know, the blossoms on the trees, like all the pinkish tones. Like, we caught it, you know, this is a good picture of the temple, but, like, some of the ones they had there, Like, it was kind of like demonstrations of, like, what it could be. It's like, damn, this thing is pretty. And, like, because, like, the gold, like, it stands out in a way that kind of works with everything else, I think. But yeah, and also while we were there, we had this, kind of traditional, like, tea... Well, not, it wasn't quite a tea ceremony. That's one of the things we were going to do, but ran out of time for. But yeah, so we had some, like, matcha tea and this little kind of sweet cake thing. Which was... Yeah, it was quite nice, actually, yeah. It did tempt me to buy some matcha tea for home, which I've had a bit of. What I learned from that is that I used way too much powder in it, but it was still pretty nice. Yes, and then... Where was this? I know where this was. So we moved from Ginkoji to, down the train a little, to a place called Arashiyama. Now, there's two great things about Arashiyama. The first one, which we're coming to, is the Arashiyama Monkey Park, or as it's kind of, more... Well, it's more, I guess, known generally amongst tourists as Monkey Mountain. What it is, it's a mountain. Well, not a mountain, it's a big hill. It's like about 150 meters off sea level or something, so it's not even like all that. But believe me, in that heat, you will feel like you're climbing a fucking mountain. Because yeah, middle of summer, it's hot. Damn, this music's kind of going for it. Hold on, I'm going to have to knock this down a bit. There we go. Just because that was getting a bit heated. But, yeah. So you walk to the top of this mountain, and one of the best views of Kyoto, might I add, from, like, the top of this thing. And also, monkeys. So there's this, you know, obviously they've got these little binoculars here, which were scorching hot to the touch. I don't know how anyone managed to use them. My music's not looping now. There we go. They had this little kind of, like, information thing of, like, what each of the different bits were. Which was very cool. Also, as I said, monkeys. So I got this picture of, like, Monkey Pog, which was just there. A little baby monkey, and he's pogging. He's happy to be here. And then some of the monkeys themselves. The monkeys were cool, but I was also kind of, like, low-key terrified because there were, like, bunches of signs around saying, like, do not look directly at the monkeys. If they catch you staring at them, they will, like, take it as a sign of aggression and fuck you up. And, like, you know, do not have any, like, loose, you know, bags or anything in the areas where, like, you could potentially walk by them because they will just fucking nick it. And, like, don't feed them directly in case they, like, try and, like, pull your finger off with it. And it's like, ooh. I mean, because monkeys are spooky creatures. But, yeah, it was nice seeing the monkeys here. And then the other thing... Yeah, monkeys can be scary. Absolutely, yeah. Like, I was like, this is cute. I need to, you know, keep a safe distance. Yeah. They look cute, yeah. I mean, like, yeah, it's like... I'm not going to say no to Monkey Pog over here. But at the same time, I gotta keep safe. But yeah, we did come to the top. We did feed them. It was all fine. Prefer the deer park. Honestly, yeah. Although there's, like, even those things, like the antlers, I have to be a little careful with. But, yeah, you know. Don't think you kind of lots... I guess we've taken a very naturey vibe to this. And to continue the naturey vibe, I suppose, the next place we went to was the bamboo forest. And this was, like, a very cool place to walk to. It was thankfully quite shady, on account of all the bamboo trees. And yeah, although one thing we did see, kind of, like, around this whole area in Arashiyama, not so much the Monkey Mountain, but definitely, like, the streets surrounding it and also through the bamboo forest, is you'd have these carriages, right? Like, these old-fashioned, look like they were kind of, like, you know, back of a horse and cart thing, but smaller. And you'd see, like, occasionally, one of them would just go past, like, a couple of people sitting in the back. And there's one poor fucking Japanese man just, like, sprinting and carrying it forward. I'm just like, you poor bastard, sprinting around, like, lugging two people around in this heat. Like, Jesus. Like, I didn't get any photo of them, obviously, because it's, like, photographing other people is... You know, at least trying to directly photograph other people is a kind of a no-no in Japan. It's like, they're not... Like, they'll let you photograph the touristy areas, but don't, like, go and photograph someone, you know, like, in their back garden, essentially. Which I think is a pretty standard rule. Or at least a standard, you know, bit of etiquette in most places. But, yeah, no, in Japan you can get into some serious trouble if you're not careful with that. But yeah, it's like you just saw these things around and it's like, how are these dudes pulling the carts? 'Cause it's just one dude pulling like a carriage with like 3 people in the back. It's like, how is this dude alive? It's just insanity. Oh. And then my friend wanted to try some tofu things for lunch. So we went to what looked like quite an upmarket tofu place. And, oh boy, set stuff is back on the menu. So, let's try and remember what any of this shit was. I believe, bottom left, we have some spring onions. Just above them, we have, this was taking people a photo without consent is not nice after all. Exactly, yes. And like, I didn't get any photos of them because I didn't want to disturb the peace. Like, I'll photo your trees, I'll photo your shrines, you know. I made sure I was alright with, the, vendor at, Tsukiji, who did all the shouting, that I could, get a video of that. Before I did, obviously. And, yeah, it's like, it's polite to ask and not just do. If there's people involved. If it's a building, obviously, they probably want you to go there and photo it and all that, because it's good tourism for them, but, yeah. Anyway, this giant, tofu lunch. So, spring onions. Had some dipping sauce, which was for the boiled tofu at the top left. That's what that is. We've got this kind of nice, like, aromatic rice kind of thing that my chopsticks are resting on. Then, we have, kind of, in the shadow of the chopsticks on the other end, we've got this kind of, like, pickled ginger, I think it was. We've got kind of like a big miso soup, bottom right of that. Directly above it, I can't remember. I think it was like some kind of custody type thing. This bowl up here, again, I think it was like some aubergines and some other stuff, I think. It was like some vegetables, just a couple of them. Then the other kind of like dark pot with the dark liquid in is some soy sauce, which is, which leads me on to the thing at the top right, which is the best part of this meal, which is tofu skin. I don't know what they did to this tofu skin, like what they did to it, but like you picked up a bit of that, you dunked it in the soy sauce. It was actually really fucking good. This bit was like the best bit of the meal. And then the 2 kind of black cubes on the right are like, it's like a sesame seed jelly, and then like some more sesame seed jelly in like, some kind of like soy flour, I want to say it was called. I'm not sure. It was like some kind of flour. But they like to use it a lot in their desserts. And I'll be honest, pretty much the only bits of this that I would say I liked were like the rice, tofu skin, and like I guess the miso, but like, again, this is my problem with set meals. I don't want to have to micromanage, I don't want to have to work out that these 2 sesame things on the right are actually desserts, because I've never seen them before. Which admittedly is more of a folly on my part than the restaurants. But still, I didn't rate the boiled tofu. It's just boiled tofu in a sauce, and the sauce does not go far enough to cover the fact that this is just very plain. Like, particularly the amount of money we paid for it as well, because it's like obviously the big fancy, set meal and that, but I just don't think I'm a fan of set meals. By all means, I encourage you to try one if you go to Japan, but if you don't, if you don't feel like micromanaging a lot of very small plates, not all of which you might like, because at least if you order, a meal, like, or at least a standard one, you're either going to like that meal or you're not going to like it and you can find something else. This, it's like, the awkward things of like, well, I like about, 2/7 of this, and I guess I can get on with, like, another 3 or 4/7 and that, but, like, there's some bits I just abjectly don't like. I'm not a fan of the sesame jellies, I'm going to be honest. Yeah, I'd be overwhelmed. No, exactly, yeah, it's like, I think maybe overwhelmed would be a bit of a strong term for me personally, but I can totally see someone getting overwhelmed by this. But yeah, overwhelmed would be a bit strong. At breakfast, I definitely was overwhelmed because I was still getting up and I was like, what the fuck? There's like 17 things going on and like I've accidentally poured broth over myself and everything's terrible. This is more just like, cool. I like some of this and I kind of wish I didn't have to eat the rest. So yeah, try a set meal once maybe. But, if you don't have luck with it, I don't blame you. And particularly, like, you could get, like, 4 good bowls of ramen for this. Just, or even some nice gyudon. Gyudon is a great dish. And there's, a bunch of, like, quote-unquote fast food places that do it everywhere over Japan. I say quote-unquote there because fast food in Japan is very different from how we view it in, like, Western civilization. Like, in Western civilization, fast food is, like, your Makis, your Like your Burger King, your Subway, your KFC, whatever. You know, it's shit you put in your body to make the hunger go away, and it tastes pretty good, but, like, it is not fucking good for you. Like, fast food in Japan means a cheap, like a cheap dish that doesn't necessarily have the fanciest ingredients, but all those ingredients are done very fucking well. Like, a gyudon is literally just beef, rice, and whatever extra toppings you want. And it fucking works. There's nothing about that doesn't work. It's in one bowl, and I can just go, you know, like, thank you for this, itadakimasu, and get full for, like, fucking, like, you know, like, I don't know how much yen it was. I think, like, so this was about, like, I want to say 1,500 yen or something. And then, like, the gyudons I saw in the places were, like, 400. Like, you could get almost 4 of them for this. And I would have preferred a gyudon and some extra spending money. But, you know, you do it for the culture, you do it for the experience. And I have experienced this, and I now know that, yeah, I now know that, this is, not the vibe for me. But yeah, so with lunch, eaten anyway, we went on to a very famous shrine, that I do in fact know the name of. This is the Inari Shrine, which some of you may recognize from the name, but in case you don't, you might recognize from these pictures. It's the one that goes up a mountain and has all of these different, like, hundreds of, you know, maybe even thousands of torii gates. I forget the exact number. Excuse me. But yeah. And all these gates are very cool as well, because they're in different sizes at different bits of the mountains as well. But every single one of them, if you look at the back of them, has these inscriptions on. And everyone has a different inscription. Now, from my very rudimentary Japanese, I think these on the right are just, like, numbers. So this is, like, you know, gate number fucking 70 bajillion and 3 or whatever. And then on the right, like, I couldn't actually read much of this. Like, I don't know, maybe it was, like, Proverbs or something. But, yeah, there was a lot of kanji in them, because obviously they're very old things, so I couldn't glean much. But, yeah, Inari Shrine was a very cool place to go to. Yeah, definitely if you're in the Kyoto area. I would say the advice we got from our friend who was with us at the festival where they set the hills on fire was like, yeah, Inari's great. By all means, go there and see the gates. Don't necessarily go to the top, because this thing winds all the way to the top of the mountain, and it's like a 2-hour walk or something, which in Kyoto's heat, you know, particularly if you're going in summer, is just... It's taxing, and also it's time-consuming for a view that he reckons is, you know, no better than what you get from Monkey Mountain. So we're like, fair enough, we'll come here, we'll see the gates, we'll walk up, like, a little bit of it, we'll walk down a little bit of it, we'll go do something else. And I think we were very justified in doing that, because where I went next was this, again, kind of more around some of the streets near our ryokan, with a lot of these kind of, like, you know, little traditional shops and that. Also, people do just walk around in kimono here, and you can hire out kimono if you want to do that yourself. Obviously, you know, at your own risk of heat stroke, do it. But I have to assume that these things are kind of breathable. Like, they must be, surely. For, like, summer festivals. But, yeah, like, you do get just loads of people walking around in kimono, and, like, they're kind of... They add to the prettiness of the place, I think. Like, I'm really proud of this shot, because I think it's a really good shot of the street, but also, you know, this kind of, like, central figure in the kimono that, like, I happened to take a photo of the back of, like, ended up pulling through a lot more than I thought. But, yeah. I was gonna say, I know I did just go on around about, like, not photographing people randomly, but, like, it wasn't like I was targeted photographing her in this case. It's just, like, I took the photo of the street, and then she happened to, like, pop out in the foreground, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, that actually kind of makes the shot. In hindsight. But yeah, where did I go after this? So I did a little bit of shopping here. Like, I think this is where I got my fancy chopsticks, actually. And then I went to, I forget the name of the shrine. Oh, that's annoying. What was it? Oh, excuse me. Oh, well. I know it's the one in Higashiyama that's kind of like built into the side of a mountain, essentially. This place was super cool. Like, you had some, like, really nice view. Obviously, because it's built into the side of the mountain, you get this really nice view of, like, I called it, like, I guess just after the sun had set. You get this really nice view of the city and, like, some of the surrounding landscape and that. And obviously, you can see what this thing is built on. And actually, there's, like, a path that goes around the bottom of it as well that I did go around. And you can see just, like, the mad fucking, like, thing this shrine is built on. Like, Lillian's, like, the wooden, like, support beams and scaffolding was just kind of nutso. Yeah. Like, that was, like, I'm gonna go back to this shot, though, actually, though, because, god damn, this was a great end to a very busy day looking over at this. Well, most of an end, anyway. But, yeah, this was, a fantastic view and a fantastic kind of very tranquil bit. Like, even though it was, you know, obviously, lots of people were just coming and going because it was the sunset. I guess they wanted the view, but, like, it still felt very, you know, very peaceful. Oh, hey. Speak of the devil, it's that gyudon. Don't be fooled by kind of, like, this bowl here. Like, it's flared at the top. There's kind of, like, a well underneath all of that that's got, like, a bunch of rice in. So, you know, I had, I think I had a drink. I had all this rice, all this nice, kind of like beef, and some like green beans in this kind of like, I almost want to call it like, this is probably heresy to call it this, but it's almost like this kind of like chili pesto type thing. Yeah, like 700 yen. So I could have got 2 of this, you know, including the 2 drinks, for still under what we paid for lunch. And this shit slaps. Like, this is great. And like, they give it to you in about, like, 2 minutes. It's great. Love this a lot. But yeah, and after that, I think we basically, we went to bed because we had to get up very early in the morning the next day. I will switch the music, and then I will, let's have a look. What we got that would fit this. What about this? Oh, too loud. There we are. I think that'll work for this next bit. Or at least I hope it does. Because next morning, we got up very early. I should mention, actually, so we stayed at this ryokan for 3 days. We had the traditional breakfast the one day, and then basically me and all my friends were like, yeah, we're not feeling that again. So oh, fucking hell, that suddenly got a lot louder. There we go. But yeah, where was I? Thoughts. Oh yeah, so we had this, the ryokan breakfast the first day, then we just kind of got up super early and left the second day, and said like, yeah, we're not gonna need the breakfast the second day, and then the third day we had to check out super early, because we had to get the first Shinkansen into Tokyo so we could make it for as much of Summer Sonic 2023 as we could. Now, this was kind of more on the drive for my friends. So, because they'd seen this, like, well ahead of time, and they wanted to kind of get a vibe for the Japanese, you know, concert stuff. I obviously had already been to a Miku concert, so I was well versed. But, this was, like, quite a lot of, you know, like, actual artists. So, and there was a really surprising lineup there, actually. So, we all got there, and we were just in time for Raol. If you don't know who Raol is, look her up, R-E-O-L. She's very talented. Kind of a utaite/songwriter from back in the old Vocaloid days. You'll probably recognize her because her cover of Laboratory is significantly more popular than the original of Laboratory at this point, I think. Or not even at this point, for some time it has been. In fact, let me just fact check myself on that. Like, if you type in Laboratory. Yeah. The Rail official one has... In fact, no, I'll do it the other way around. So the Vocaloid one, at least the highest one I can see, has... like... 2.2... yeah, 2.2 million views. The version that Rail has sung, 79 million views. So, you know, just a handful more. Just a little bit more popular. But yeah, Rael was insane. It was great seeing her. She sung Hibikase. Again, any of my Vocaloid people in chat who know your Vocaloid songs, I got to see Hibikase live, which was fucking great. Then I believe we went over to some other stage, which was outside. It was an outside stadium in the middle of the sun. We were packed in like sardines, and I kind of thought I was gonna die. But we saw this K-pop band called New Jeans, and they were cool. You know, I'm not a K-popper myself. But yeah, you know, it was cool. And then I think I saw like one more thing. I can't remember exactly what it was, and then I dipped. But I know one of my friends went and saw Wet Leg. They went and saw Blur, which was the last time Blur were ever performing in Japan. One of them went off and saw those. Some of the other ones went off and saw some like other different kind of like Chinese artists, and then finished off their day with Yoasobi or Yaosobi. I can never remember how to pronounce it. But you know, obviously the people who, you know, did Idol, which has been top one on the billboards for the entire duration of our trip over there at that point. Just you couldn't move for hearing that song, like particularly in Akihabara, but also like anywhere where you have like the big cities and they're doing like the billboard, you know, like top charts and that. Fucking Idol. Yeah. Not many K-pop mutuals. Well, hey, maybe they've heard of New Jeans. You can say you've got someone who's seen them live. Because I did. But yeah, so they had a blast, and they were there for like the whole day. I dipped half day because it was very busy, and I wanted a bit of, you know, a bit of chill time. So I went out. I got this fucking fantastic tonkatsu. For those of you who don't know what tonkatsu is, it's this like it's this bit of breaded pork essentially. It's like breaded, fried, kind of cooked pork. And it always comes with this thing literally just called tonkatsu sauce. Well, it's probably got a more fancy name, but like it's essentially tonkatsu sauce. This shit is great, right? Now, this one was a little bit weird because like I got it and I ate it and like it was obviously cooked, but like it had been allowed to cool down afterwards. Like, don't get me wrong, it was still great, but like I was expecting something hot. When you obviously see this, you think like, oh, it's a hot piece of fried pork, but like no, it was actually like, you know, allowed to cool afterwards. So I put the tonkatsu sauce on it, ate it. Fucking delicious anyway. So if you get cold tonkatsu, don't worry, it's not going to kill you. You know, just because it should be white all the way through, and the frying process to get, you know, the proper tonkatsu, like kind of battering, I guess, as it were, was you know, we'll have cooked it anyway. And I didn't actually, yeah. Okay, that music's finished. I didn't care for it too much, so I'm gonna move on to. What shall I move on to, actually? Ooh, let's do that. Yeah. There we go. This is cool. So anyway, I did a bit of, it's weirdly tense, though. You know what, we'll roll with it. At least until the next day. But yeah. So, I had this tonkatsu, let's say, about midday, all my friends were still, you know, going at it with the concert stuff. You know, like, I'd seen what I wanted to see. I caught Rail in the morning, I saw the rest, and I was like, that's cool. I'm not waiting around till 8 PM in the middle of these fucking crowds, in the middle of the heat. You guys knock yourself out. I'm gonna go do some other stuff. I'm gonna go look around, the bit of Tokyo where we were, staying for our final night. So I went in, like, you know, checked us all in. Had a bit of a wander. I found this. You may recognize some of these characters. But yeah, you know, just here at the Bleem Bandai Namco offices, which I happened to stumble past. I did actually get like a proper good photograph of Goku up here. But yeah, I haven't included it in here for hopefully obvious reasons. I've also just realized, although I caught it a lot earlier this time, let me change this from Kyoto to Tokyo. There we go. Right, so what else did I find on my mystical... so where we were staying, this is obviously back in Tokyo now. No, Doraemon, yeah, got Doraemon there. But yeah, like, there's literally tons of these, you know, characters, you know, up the street next to the offices, and like Goku was like taller than me, so you know, like taller than 6 foot, which was kind of, you know, like basically they weren't like, you know, small little things. These were like big lads. Popular boy. Oh really? Huh. I never knew that. That like, so Doraemon's like everywhere in Spain. You say, damn. I had no idea. Actually, no, I tell you what. I say I had no idea. This suddenly explains... Okay, this is a bit of a wild detour, but like, I like to go on, you know, like, well, at least, you know, when I'm not doing holidays with myself, my family will occasionally invite me on, like, you know, little family holidays, just somewhere chill, you know, grab somewhere, sit by a pool for a week and a bit, eat too much, and then come back home, essentially, you know. Very, very low committal, like, family holidays. And they say, like, hey, do you want to come with us? You know, it'd be nice to see you and all that. And I'll be like, yeah, sure, you know. I'll tag along. One of the places we go, called, like, Ciutadella. It's on one of the, it's like either in Menorca or Mallorca. I can never remember which one. One of the islands off of Spain, anyway. And there's always this marina we go, well, generally there's this marina we go to, like, a lot of the time to get food and that. And they have little TVs on showing random shows. And, like, it's normally, like, you know, like, it's something, like, kid-friendly. So it's, like, you know, SpongeBob, or it's, like, Teen Titans Go or something. But I've noticed also that there, they did have a lot of Doraemon on. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Like, I wonder what, like, what programming, you know, puts that together. Because it's not like, you know, regular, you know, Nickelodeon or whatever. So I'm like, I wonder, you know, what networking decision decided to put, like, Doraemon and SpongeBob together. But, yeah, I guess if Doraemon's super, super popular in Spain, then it makes sense that, like, even on, you know, the outlying islands, it's just like, yeah, you just see him, like, on TV. Huh. But yeah, I say thank you for that, Mimi. That's made sense of something that has kind of, like, not, I wouldn't say bothered me, but, like, has been, like, yeah. Not bothered me, but, definitely it's been, you know, made me do a double take a couple of times. It's like, what's that doing over here? Because, like, you know, obviously as someone who kind of was studying Japanese, it's like, oh, okay, I mean, sure, this is, you know, a cool thing that I can listen to. Even if it is, you know, kids' TV program. In Venice, I'm probably at about the Japanese level of, like, slightly below kids' TV programming. So, yeah, works for me just fine. Oh, it's called Boing, you reckon? Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough. The more you know. But, sorry, yeah. That tangent aside, I've just seen what my next photo is, and it's, So, does anyone remember my rant about really weird, gachapon machines? Basically in all of Japan. Like, there's always some really weird ones. Well, first off, on this short walk, I believe I found a Milgram, gacha machine, which was very cool. But also, I found this. I think this might be. It's between this and the Curious George for the weirdest gachapon I found. But would anyone like the Denny's gacha machine, complete with miniatures of your favorite Denny's menu items for some fucking reason? Just like, who buys this? Who willingly puts like 400 yen, so about £2.50, into this and says like, yeah, I want a fucking Denny's miniature. Like, what the fuck? I don't know. Me, I want Denny's. I mean, that's fair. It's just fucking Japanese Denny's miniatures. Oh, God. Oh, that's also gone now. Cool. You know, maybe I'll put this back on for a minute. There we are. I think it's different to American Denny's. Well, I mean, probably, because, like, on one of the nights, well, particularly after one of the nights out, we, so after one of the nights out, you know, like, I think it was actually after the one in Kyoto where we, you know, well, not we didn't set anything on fire, but, there was the festival where hills were set on fire and we were completely innocent, we promise. What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, we went for like a bit of a night out after that, and on the way back from that, you know, about like half 2 in the morning, as you do, you head to the local Macca's, you know. And, you know, you go in there, you grab some stuff. And there were obviously a lot of different menu items there. Like, I mean, I only had, like, medium fries because I just wanted, like, something that was familiar to shove in my face before I went to bed. But, like, they had, like, teriyaki burgers and some other stuff and that. So, like, they do, like, the fast food places do different menu items. Which makes a lot of sense, obviously, because, you know, it's about what they can source and what's popular over there and yada, yada, yada. But just fucking Denny's, man. It's just, something about that is so funny to me. Oh. Yeah. And speaking of funny things I found, look at this totally cool bar I found that I looked at and went, you know, I don't think I will go in there, actually. Well, I'm sure it's a cool gimmick bar, not suspicious. I don't think I'm gonna go in there. I feel like that's where I disappear if I go in there. God. Bar not suspicious, confirmed sus. Literally not sus. It's like, yeah, we won't kill you, come in. It's like, no, I don't think I will. And then, yeah, so I did a bit more, kind of, you know, stumbling around as you do, as it was late this night. And I re-found the Shinshoji Temple, which was actually the, as a woman, I would totally go to a bar that is not sus. I mean, yeah, hey, as a dude, I don't think I'd go there. Like, I'm just like, no, that seems like death. Oh. But yeah, anyway, so I stumbled around a bit more near the not sus bar. I actually re-found Shinshoji Temple, which I got this really nice shot of at night because they, like, illuminate it all at night. And I think, like, it was still kinda, not nearly as busy as it was when we first went, which made it a lot more tolerable. But, like, yeah, this was really pretty at night. But it also meant that I was able to get a much clearer shot of kind of the path leading up to the temple. And obviously all these things are shuttered down, obviously, because it's the evening. But all of these were open, selling various different bits of crap. And, like, you would, like, literally, there was this super long corridor just chock full of people. And I think that's what made me, like, kind of not really vibe with it the first time I went around there. Because, yeah, like, if you're going to, Shinshoji Temple, like, you know, by all means do, but if I have one piece of advice, go in the evening. It's a lot quieter, and it's a bit much in the day. Like, yeah, go in the evening if you're gonna go. But yes, so I did a bit of walking around there. I believe I also went to an arcade, and I rinsed some Taiko no Tatsujin. And also this, I believe this thing was called, like, Tetote Dance. And it was this kind of rhythm game where, like, you had to... There was a giant touchscreen, essentially, and you had to, like, tap on this different bits of the screen to the beat. But there would be this, like, anime character on the other side of the screen who'd be, like, tapping alongside. So you'd be, like, high-fiving them and, like, following their hands around and that. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, it's kind of gimmicky, like, waifu rhythm game, whatever. You know, like, I'm sure I won't do that. And then I saw that one of the girls you could have on the other side was none other than, out of all the Hololive representatives, none other than Momosuzu Nene. And let me tell you, as soon as I knew Nenechi was involved, I was fucking there for, like, 2 hours. No questions asked. Fucking... I was just like, you have my attention, I can dance with Nenechi, let's go. Oh, but yeah. I like how in this particular arcade I had as well, there was this little fucking curtain you could draw while you're playing this thing, which was presumably to, like, hide your shame, but, like, I was just there having a great time. Oh. But yeah, so anyway, did a bit of that. Span the Milgram Gacha machine a few times, and then went back. Which I believe does mean we need another music change. I am going to pick this. Oh, that's loud. And also beachy. But, you know what? It'll do. Once it gets over beach noises. There we go. So, day 14. This was at I guess, a restaurant, back in, Shibuya. So this day was essentially because, like, we'd obviously got back to Tokyo the previous day, and my friends had done Summer Sonic the entire day, done it for half, and done a bit of wandering around. Oh, that music is still a bit loud. Apologies that the music for this stream is probably going to be all over the fucking place, by the way. I have no idea how I managed to get the volumes consistent last time. But yeah, so this was kind of like, I think we just skipped breakfast on this one and went straight to lunch, which is why we've got, like, essentially, like, big, you know, karage, like, big fried chicken here. A bowl full of rice, some miso, some dip for the karage, some, like, little pickled ginger, a modest salad, and cool, things that I hadn't tasted before, actually. This kind of luminous green drink I've got, which is like melon, it's like a melon soda. Now, don't let the name melon fool you. This thing tastes more like vanilla than melon. But it is pretty fucking nice. Like, I'm not sure it'd ever be my go-to over Coke. But I'm glad I tried this, strange, radioactive looking liquid. And I'm sure it only has health benefits for me. As the clean, luminous color and sweet taste, clues me in on. But yes, this is kind of like, we wanted to essentially go to the top of Shibuya and get a decent view of the crossing. From like a kind of a top-down perspective as opposed to the side-on one we'd got in the earlier days. So we went up to this restaurant, hoping it'd have a decent view. Didn't really, but it had some alright food. Also, it did have, and I've got a little video of them here, these little robot waiters. Look at them. Adorable. Oh. Yeah, I'm gonna play that one more time, actually. Just, look at them go. And like they, you know, you'd order, because essentially you'd order off an iPad, and then like one of these little things would just tootle along and stop near your table, and you take your food off of it, and then you could like put your empty plates back on it, and it'd like take them back to the kitchens and that as well. And it was, you know, it was nice. I think that was a very cool little thing. Just little robo waiters. They're not full like, because there's like, I think somewhere near Harajuku, there's like a dedicated robot cafe. Which is a lot cuter because the robots there can like actually talk to you, but each robot is individually piloted by someone with like a disability that means they couldn't work elsewhere. I really wanted to go to that, but we ran out of time for that particular cafe. But like, this is kind of like the light version of that, where it's just automated robots, you know, ferrying around food. But yeah, that robot cafe was like super. I mean, that robot cafe was like something I super wanted to go to because it sounded so sweet. And like, and I'm all for, you know, giving people work opportunities where they otherwise would, you know, very much struggle. But alas, you know, we got this instead, and it wasn't quite as heartwarming, but it was still pretty cool. So we then went back to Harajuku, which I believe I brought up last stream. But I've got a couple of extra photos of Harajuku this time, because I want to unveil one of Japanese fashion's, I guess, most noteworthy and iconic trends, particularly in women's fashion. So, as a lot of you might know, or at least I think I've brought it up already a couple of times. So I'm about, you know, 6 foot-ish, maybe just above. My friends are, you know, roughly the same size as me. Asian people are generally not that tall, so we felt pretty big going around there. You know, and you could definitely feel it in some places, but for the most part, it was fine. But particularly, like, you know, some of the women over there were, like, quite short. So they've come up with a devious idea. I didn't set my music to loop again, did I? Whatever, we're gonna go here instead. Yeah, actually this works. 8 minutes of this, we'll take that. Okay. So, yeah, the Japanese women, or I guess women's fashion, has come up with a great idea to help combat this, you know, potential height difference. And it is just have shoes with like fucking 6-inch platforms on everything. Like, just fucking, like, people would unironically wear these. Like, absolute fucking, like, almost stilts at this point. It was, you know, like, Harajuku fashion is, you know, in particular, it can get a bit wild, but, like, this wasn't even that uncommon to see people in, like, fucking giga platforms. Or, like, you know, not even, like, obviously these are just trainers with these platforms on. But, like, look at these! Like, what's going on there? Fucking... At what point do we just call them stilts? Oh, yo, I want those shoes. I want to look tall. I mean, fair, that's what they're there to do, I guess, but, like, god damn. It's certainly something. Like, it was something, like, because once me and my friends had noticed these shoes, we were like, we look, just, you know, not being weird about it or anything, but just, like, we just occasionally, like, just, you know, poke each other and say, like, oh, yeah, look, like, you know, even far away from Harajuku, like, oh, yeah, another person with, like, you know, like, fucking 3 to 4 inch platforms. It's just, whoops, I've accidentally hit my mouse wheel. It's just like, yeah, this was, like, not even slightly uncommon. Oh. But yeah, we had a bit more of a mosey on through Harajuku. I had, a lunch I will not soon forget. This crepe. So, so this is, like, Harajuku has, essentially specializes in these, like, novelty, not novelty, I guess, but these kind of very, eccentric isn't the word either. Very full-on, shall we say, crepes. That have, probably more fillings than they should ever have needed to. So this one that I bought here had some bananas, some strawberries, a scoop of vanilla ice cream, a bunch of whipped cream, some caramel sauce, and a small slice of cheesecake in a crepe for 860 yen, which for those keeping track is about $5. And don't get me wrong, it was real fucking nice. But like, it's one of those things where you finish eating it and you're like, ah yes, I can feel my arteries clogging. It's just like, it's heavy. And that wasn't even the heaviest one. There was some, like, fucking wild one with, like, chocolate ice cream, like, 2 different kinds of chocolate cake, actual, like, chocolate chunks. There's, like, a chocolate cookie in there as well. And it was just, like, a chocolate sauce. And it was just like, holy fuck, like, how do you eat that and not just expire on the spot? But yeah. So we did a bit of looking around, you know, obviously we finished looking around Harajuku. We wanted to do something a bit different for the evening. So my friend did a bit of Googling and says, oh, okay, there's apparently this, like, festival thing on, in, this place that I cannot remember the name of for the life of me. I think it's on one of the signs. Going up if my eyes don't deceive me. But yeah, we went to this, like, kind of street festival, street parade thing later on. And it was really fucking cool. So you can see kind of, like, these people in, like, the kind of, like, the kind of flat, like, straw hats. There would be, like, several groups of them. And they would, like, parade through the streets with these, like, dances and, like, chants. And there'd be, like, the guys on, like, the big, you know, like, kind of, like, taiko drums. And had these, like, bells and things. And this one guy, like, the guy at the start, the lead of each procession was holding, like, this big totem pole. And yeah, it got, like, real busy. So you can see another one here. Shimo Kitazawa is apparently where it was. I'd love to know what this was all in aid of, because, like, we got a lot more photos of this, but, the thing about this festival is that, like, it seemed like it was a very, like, local thing, so, like, you had, you know, like, very young, you know, kind of, like, I guess, elementary school children, you know, being helped along by, you know, ages all the way up to kind of, like, you know, like, people who looked about 40, if I had to guess. It's really hard to tell with, because I think the kind of blessing and curse with Asian people is that, like, in a general sense, I think they look 20 until they're 50, and then they look 50. Like, it just happens one day. Like, they flip a switch, and it's like, oh, you're not 20 anymore, you are old. It's like, it's just how it works. But yeah, you know, like, there was kind of like this great age range of people. It's clearly, you know, a lot of young kids and, you know, kids who look like we're just going through, like, you know, high school or whatever. Being in these processions, they clearly trained on it, and they were all fucking sweating buckets while they were, like, you know, under all these spotlights, these people, like, gawping at them. But yeah, no, I have no idea what this festival was in aid of, but it was a cracking bit of fun to watch them all parade around, and then they had this bit at the end where, like, each group that was parading, like, kind of claimed a bit of a street, and then if you were kind of spectating, they'd do this performance for you, and then at the end, at least our group, had us all join in and, like, you know, dance around and, you know, join in on the chants and that. It was a lot of fun. And it was, like, fantastic vibes. If anyone can work out what this festival was... Excuse me? If anyone can work out what this festival was, I'd love to know as well. I think I got a flyer for it somewhere, but obviously it's all in Japanese, so it's a bit hard to Google. But this was very cool. I feel like I haven't had this music on for too long, actually. Yeah, I've breezed through that day in about 6 minutes, so, I'm gonna keep it on for now, as we head into day 15. Which starts, hopefully. There we go. Starts with, a return trip to the Tsukiji fish markets. Now, this is some crab that my friend ordered. I didn't order it personally. But, you know, he was off ordering something else that needed to be in queue for, so I got to, like, guard his crab for a bit. But yeah, they really do just take, like, a whole, like, you know, like, length of crab about, you know, the size from, like, my elbow to the tips of my fingers. And just, like, cut it up with these, like, almost like the heavy-duty things used to, like, prune, like, branches. Off of, like, you know, particularly sturdy bushes, I guess. Maybe, like, small trees. Like, you're not trimming, like, trunks or big branches with those things, but, like, the little kind of, like, handheld ones. Hopefully hopefully people get what I'm kind of trying to describe there. They're not shears. They're just things used to, like, prune plants, but, like, they were pretty, you know, thick things. So obviously, they made short work of this, you know, like, crab arm and claw. And then you got to see it, like, fried in front of you, and then you got to eat it afterwards. What I actually bought there, though, is one of my favorite meals of the entire trip. Just some good fucking, like, tuna sashimi sushi. Oh, yes. Now, from left to right here, I have fatty tuna. I have kind of like a medium tuna, and on the right I have like a lean tuna. That fatty tuna, like, I didn't understand the hype before. Like, oh, well, why would you want fatty tuna, right? I tried one of these. I dipped it in soy sauce, and I was like, I get it. Literally that fucking, like, gif of Danny DeVito, just like, I get it now. It all makes sense. This was... Okay, admittedly this was pricey as well, because it's, like, super fresh fish. It's sashimi, which is always going to be a bit pricey. You know, it's, like, it was, like, quite a, I guess a varied selection. And these bits of sushi weren't small, either. But, yeah, God, that was such a great thing. So I think I had a couple of things at Tsukiji there, actually. I had, those. I had, a bit of, like, fried unagi, which is eel. I had another couple of tuna skewers from our favorite tuna skewer man from last stream. From last, Japatsudan stream. Yeah, I really went to town on the fish here, because if you're gonna get fresh fish, or, you know, really good fresh fish food like this, go to Tsukiji. It's literally what they specialize in. And fuck me, it's good. It's really fucking good. Oh. They also do sell some other things at Tsukiji, but, like, I, you know, captured some kind of photos of some of these other things. More to ram home a point I made, kind of last time, where it's like, oh, you want some grapes? Here's a bunch of grapes for about 20 quid. I mean, you know, granted, okay, fair enough. They're big grapes. They're good grapes, you know? But I don't want to spend 20 quid on fucking grapes. Please. Or, like, they've got, some fairly modest-sized watermelons, I should say. Which we're going for, like, what's that? That must be, like, about 40 quid. And, like, they weren't, like... the picture here doesn't probably do them much justice, but they weren't, like, the biggest grapes. But, like, you can see how, like, nothing here basically costs, like... a possible exception of, like, maybe one of these, oranges. But, like, nothing here costs under, like, 10 quid. Fruit over in Japan is ridiculous. But yes, that was a morning spent at Tsukiji Fish Market anyway, where a lot of good food was eaten. Right. Where was this? Oh, I know where this is. So the next place we went to after Tsukiji, we went back into kind of more central Tokyo, and we were going to climb to the top of the Tokyo Skytree. But if you'll excuse me for just 1 second, I need to grab a glass of water because I've been talking for a while and it's hot. So I'll be back in just 1 second. And we're back. So, yeah, where was I? Oh yeah, that's it, Tokyo Skytree, or more specifically the bottom of it. So, there's a lot of cutesy little, you know, like, shops around the bottom of the Skytree. So obviously we saw this little Kirby cafe, which is very cute, like that. There was also a Pokemon Center. Weirdly, this one at the bottom of the Tokyo Skytree, we could just walk into, no issues. The one in Osaka, we needed a 3-hour bloody queue for, which is odd. But yeah, still, doesn't matter. Completely 0 out of 10 Pokemon Center, because they had no Wobbuffet plushies, so like, why even bother? If my boy isn't going to be there, why am I here? Oh. I came all the way from the UK to Japan, and you still can't give me a goddamn Wobbuffet. But, yeah. So what we then went to is the top of the Tokyo Skytree, which is having its 11th anniversary, apparently. And I'll try and get a slightly better picture than that, but yeah. So, this was from the top of the Skytree. I'm trying, is this the photo I had where, because you could, like, see the Asahi building and, like, the, Shinshoji Shrine from a bit of this, but I don't think it was on this photo. But yeah, it's kind of mad that, like, you look at how kind of dense and... Wait, so is Wobbuffet your favorite Pokemon? Absolutely, and I will never forgive competitive Pokemon for, absolutely gimping my fucking boy when he had exactly one thing he was good at, and then they took it away from him. God, I've never played competitive Pokemon since. Fucking things. Mega Gengar's the problem, not Wobbuffet, you clowns. But yeah. I guess now I've gone on that much of a tangent, I may as well explain properly. So, I like Wobbuffet because he's a very silly Pokemon that plays by, like, some unconventional rules. So for those of you who don't know, Wobbuffet is a Pokemon that knows no attacks. It can't attack things. The only way it can deal damage is either by using Toxic, because I think everything can learn fucking Toxic for some reason, or it can use Counter or Mirror Coat. So if you correctly read whether someone's going to do like a physical or special attack, and Wobbuffet lives, it'll deal double the damage back. So all you need... So also Wobbuffet was like had the highest base health of any Pokemon, like fuck all of any other stat, but like the highest base health. So yeah, you just put this lad in, and you know, if your opponent tried to swing at you, they'd get immediately clapped. But obviously the issue with that is like, oh well, okay, what if my, you know, opponent just like switches out and sets up or something? Well, it used to be so that if they tried to set up, what you could do is use Encore, which locks your opponent to doing the same move, which presumably is just buffing them and not damaging them. And then you could switch in something that counters whatever they're setting up, and, you know, while they were still under the effect of Encore, which lasted for a couple of turns. And then you could, you know, essentially, like, cool, free kill. And if they tried to switch out, which was the most... This is one of the most crucial bits of Wobbuffet's kit, they couldn't, because Wobbuffet had an ability called Shadow Tag, which stopped things that weren't ghosts switching out. Now, Mega Gengar was another Pokemon that had this ability, and it made him fucking obnoxious as a sweeper, because you just fucking, like, he was insanely powerful, and you would just fucking die to him. Like, if he decided... If the trainer in possession of the Mega Gengar just decided to put him out, whatever Pokemon you had was basically fucking dead, and you couldn't switch them out. But yeah. So Mega Gengar was the issue, not my boy who literally cannot deal fucking damage. And they go and decide that, oh no, nothing's allowed Shadow Tag. Like, what? What? Why have you removed Wobbuffet's kneecaps for the sake of, like, nerfing Mega Gengar? Like, just fucking ban Mega Gengar and let my boy have his time in the sun. Ugh. But anyway, sorry. Heated Pokemon rant over. Because, God. I'm still so sad. I used to love running that Mon. It was, you know, the highlight of competitive for me that I just found this dumb thing that, like, worked more than it probably should have. But yeah, anyway, nice view of Tokyo in the background while I've been saying all this. This is the one where you can see the Asahi building. I've just spotted it. It took me a little while. If I... How best do I do this? Also, sorry if any questions are off topic. Oh, no. Ask away. I don't think we can really have questions that are too off topic. Like, yeah, I mean, if it's vaguely Japan related, you're probably fine, and Pokemon is more than a bit vaguely Japan related. It just brings up some old memories of me of better times followed by significantly worse times. Well, I say that like something bad happened. It's not. It's just my favorite Pokemon got banned. But, you know, it was real to me. Or whatever. But yeah, you can actually see the Asahi building and Shinshoji on the right of this picture. Kind of just the Asahi building on kind of like this side of the river. And Shinshoji on the other side behind a couple of buildings. But yeah, points if you can spot them. And also, it's kind of wild how, like, with how big, because obviously the Greater Tokyo area, for those of you who don't know, is bigger than, like, the entirety of the UK. So it's so wild to me that, like, you have all this dense, bustling city with God knows how many people in, and just, like, even in just the bit, like, this side of the river, you've got so much going on. And then you look across the river, and it just keeps going and going and going, and, like, until the horizon, and, like, as far as we can see, that's not even the end of Tokyo. It just keeps fucking going. This place is huge. Like, it's so wild. Like, yeah, it was really, cause, like, we got to go up to the, like, you know, the Sky Tree proper, and then there's, like, the Galleria, which is, like, an even higher bit you can go to if you pay a little bit more, and we went up there as well. And, yeah, it was some, God, well, yeah, I mean, like, this is probably the best photo I have of it. There was some real breathtaking views from up there. And then once we'd finished having our bleeding socks blown off by that, we went to the aquarium that was downstairs. Because my friend really wanted to go to an aquarium. We were going to try and do the one in Osaka, but you get a typhoon, it was closed. Which is fair, because it was also right near the coast. So if there was ever going to be, you know, issues of a typhoon causing a tsunami or something, then, you know, fair. But yeah, we saw this kind of like, you know, very unique like aquarium type thing, which I've got a couple of photos from within. We got some nice little jellyfish here. And we've got, there was a lot going on in this tank, to be fair. There was like these big rays, there was this like basking shark, I think it was. These shoals of different fish. I can't believe I didn't find a good picture of this to put in here actually, but like there was some, like, a big thing for, like, penguins and sea lions. I got a really good video of the sea lions. Don't know why it's not on here, but, I won't go back and, redo it now. But, yeah. So, we went and saw this aquarium, and that was really cool. And then we went out to maybe one of the most kind of, like, unique bits of dining we've had. Oh, no, okay, it's not super unique, but it was definitely... I found it very interesting, I should say. We went to a place called Ichiran Ramen, which is this chain ramen place in Japan, right? So, you sit down at this little booth, and it's kind of like, almost like you're in this office cubicle, so you've got kind of like these wooden, like, you know, bits either side of you, so you can see what you're doing. And there's kind of wall in front of you with, like, this little, like, kind of curtain that can be lifted up and down. And the idea is you place your order kind of, like, at the door. Server comes and seats you at your booth, and then, like, you never even see your server. Just at some point you get passed a bowl of ramen. And if you ever need anything, you don't even have to talk. It's like the most antisocial dining experience ever, but in, like, the best way. Because, like, if you ever need anything, they have these, like, little things you can hand to the staff, and they're done in English and Japanese. But yeah, like it even says at the top there, like, at Ichiran, you can make your request without speaking. Push the call button and show this to our staff. So you just push a button, post this through the curtain, and, like, some nameless, faceless, you know, as far as you're concerned, person on the other side just sorts it for you. The system sounds like introvert heaven. Unironically, yes, it was like, it's great. It's like, I want, like, a fucking fat bowl of ramen from a restaurant, and I want no one to know I exist. It's like, and the ramen there was good. Like, a case in point. This shit was good. Like, I'm very much a fan of this. Like, I mean, not much to say there, other than, like, it was a really nice bowl of pork ramen. And, yeah, and Ichiran itself, it got very busy, to be fair. We got in there at, like, 6 when there was, like, not much of a queue. But by the time we were leaving, like, about half, you know, maybe 3/4 of an hour, half an hour later, The queue was like up 2 sets of stairs and out the fucking door. Because obviously this place was in like, you know, the second basement of some random building. As all Japanese businesses are. They're just on random floors of random buildings. Yeah, but yeah, the ramen here was good. And also, as you quite rightfully pointed out, introvert heaven. Just, you know, you order one thing. Oh, do excuse me. That Discord ping was me, not you. Oh, I totally forgot to... Whoops. Yeah, oh well. Hoop. Yep, do excuse me about that. I have some things running in the background, which you may learn about, this Sunday. Yes. I shall maybe be tweeting about something this Sunday. But not now. I need to compose the proper thoughts for it first. But yeah, anyway. So we brought that day to a close. Some nice Ichiran ramen. I then believe this evening we went back to Golden Guy and found a couple of Aussie lads who are great fun to be with. Because obviously, Japan is to Australia what kind of like Europe and Spain is to Britain. It's kind of just like their de facto holiday place. You see, like out of all the non-Japanese people we saw there, we saw a lot of Australians, because it's their Europe, and we saw like a lot of Canadians specifically. Very few people who said like, oh yeah, you know, I'm American, or I'm, I think we met like one other like British lad. But yeah. It was, yeah, nice hanging out with them anyway, you know, and also nice to have another trip back to Golden Guy, which I think was this evening. But yeah, and then after that moves us on to our next day, day 16. So I'm just gonna change the music real quick. Let's do a bit of this. There we go. Assuming that's the right volume. There we go. Got it going eventually. Right, so day 16, we woke up to get our normal, you know, just find a combini, you know, like fried chicken breakfast. I noticed that because we were in a Lawson's, and Lawson's have all the best collabs, that there were these, like, special offer, Hololive brand, like, chocolate-covered nuts. And, like, each of the different, like, talents on show had, like, a different nut. Well, I say each of them had a different nut. Choco and Aqua both had almond. Missed opportunity there, by the way, to not put Pecora on the almonds. I'm just gonna say. But that being said, so there were these boxes of nuts. And, like, the kind of, like, the draw to them was, as well as the box of nuts. God, this music is a bit loud again. There we go. As well as these boxes of nuts, each one had, like, a little fridge magnet in it that could come in, like, one of two varieties, either, like, a normal costume one or a maid costume one of whatever the talent was on the front. So naturally, because obviously I needed, some snacks to bring back for, you know, for myself and for, you know, my relatives and people at my workplace, I may have slightly bought 2 of each box, in the hopes of perfectly rolling all of the ones, all of the fridge magnets. I did not perfectly roll all of them. I believe I got both of Subaru's, who would be probably my favorite out of this lot, and both of Ayame's would be my second favorite out of this lot, which is fine by me. But then I think for Aqua, I got like the regular costume twice. For Choco, I got the regular costume twice, and for Shion, I got the maid costume twice. But yeah. That was, also, yeah, I have already eaten all of them. But yeah, that was, you know, a cool thing that I found and was like, oh, cool. People are buying, like, food as souvenirs. Yeah, I'm just gonna, buy a load of these. And then where did we go? Oh, somewhere where this music probably fits a lot, actually. So after our breakfast, we went to the Team Labs Planets Museum. Now, this is allegedly the last year this is going to be open, and they're closing it down after this, but they also did say that last year, and they put it on for another year afterwards, because it was making fucking mad bank. It was also very popular when we were there, so I can't see it realistically going away. But, if it's not there, that'll be why, it's because it's allegedly this is its last year. there were a bunch of these essentially like really, really trippy art exhibits. So this one was like a maze of like LED light strips that you could walk through. And you can see there like how kind of like ethereal, I think. Oh god, sorry, I really pissed into the mic there. But you can see how really like ethereal this this thing looked. And there were a lot of I've got photos of a bunch of them actually, but a lot of different like kind of weird, trippy like exhibits like this. So we had this like LED maze. We had this kind of very interesting exhibit where like you had to wade through this kind of like almost like milk-colored liquid into this dark room, and they'd project like different fish and flowers onto this liquid, and like if you walked near them, the fish would actually respond and swim away from you. I don't know how the fuck they managed it. But, yeah, this was, definitely interesting. If you can kind of, like, mentally get over the fact that you're knee-deep in, like, milk water. Or, like, milk-coloured water, which is normally never a good sign, but... Yeah, it was very pretty in there. They had this one bit that was, like, a planetarium where they had, like... I think I caught, like, a still... This photo really does not do this thing justice of how, like, all-encompassing it was. Oh, has my music stopped? Can we have that back, please? Thank you. There we go. But yeah, this photo doesn't really do the inside of that place justice. None of these do, really. Like I say, it was mad. The kind of, things going on in there. And I haven't obviously photographed, all of the exhibits either. If any of you are going to Japan, book yourself some tickets for Team Lab Planets well in advance. This thing gets booked up super, like, quickly. But, yeah, this whole planetarium bit, we had, like, it was essentially playing this video of, like, a lot of swirling petals and, like, things going into each other. And it was fucking, like... Had it been a bit comfier in there, I could have spent hours in there. Easy. But, like, obviously you had to lie on, like, the floor and, like, you kind of got a feel for it. But, like, after, 10, 15 minutes, like, lying on your hands, like, right, okay, I need to, like, move now. Oh, and this is another one of the exhibits as well. They had this kind of, like, mist garden with, like, a bunch of moss and these weird, like, kind of, like, silver... ovoid shapes that you could push around. Very alien-esque. But, yeah. It was also very cool. And I think they had a couple of other exhibits as well. So they had this one that was like a completely, like, almost a completely dark room. But, like, the floor was, comprised of different softnesses of beanbags. So, like, you try and step through this room, and people would just, like, fucking... like, sink into these things and, like, fall over a lot until you had to, like, basically, like, army crawl your way through the room. That was a lot of fun. And they had this other one where, like, they had this, like, this weird, like, hanging garden almost things, like a bunch of plants that were grown in suspension. And, like, they would kind of, like, lift up and then kind of go back down, like a Mexican wave style thing. And you'd have to kind of, like, slowly walk through in time with this wave. As, like, the flowers ascended in front of you and descended behind you. That was really cool as well. But, yeah. So we spent the morning there, and had a jolly good time of it. And then, we had some yakitori for lunch, which is some, like, good old fried chicken skewers. I enjoyed most of these, except for, I think, the third one along from the left, which I'm pretty sure is liver. I have learned that I'm not a liver person. I don't like its texture. It's too soft. It's weird. I don't like it. But I think the rest of the things are there, though. Like, it's like various bits of chicken, and the other kind of, like, darker coloured skewer would be, like, heart, which actually was pretty alright. But, yeah. They really do know how to use the full bird over there. And then after our lunch, we went to the, Tokyo National Museum. Got a couple of photos of that, because there were some bits you were allowed to take photos of, some bits you weren't. So these were, like, statues of, like, 4 Buddhist deities, which, again, is still a very confusing concept for me. This was, I forget the proper names, but it was, like, the big, like, katana and the shorter, sword that samurai would use. And they had a bunch of, like, samurai armor in there as well. That was very cool. They had this really pretty, like, kind of, like, traditional, like, kind of Japanese dress wear. And also, they had some other things which I'm not entirely sure how to describe, like this tanuki, which looks like it's seen some shit in its time. Yeah, I don't like how it stares at me. It's a bit of an odd boy. Yeah, and then I believe that was kind of like, you know, towards the midday and that. And then we polished off the end of that day with, I remember. I swear there's something else we did that day. Hold on, let me have a oops. Don't want to spoil that. What do we do? Oh yeah, team labs in the morning and then museum in the afternoon and evening. Yeah, that makes sense. And then we got back to, Tokyo in the evening. And I had this, which was, it was like a katsu curry with some tonkatsu. Now, realistically, I loved the tonkatsu I had. I loved the curry I had. This should have been a 10 out of 10, no question. However, I think I guess I just rolled poorly on the tonkatsu, because my tonkatsu was, like, quite gristly. Like, it was still alright, but, like, it was, you know, it didn't hit nearly as well as the one I had just from a random place for lunch after Summer Sonic. And the curry itself was really good, but it was a lot. Like, I ate so much of this, and, like, I think it's part of the reason why, like, I'm of the impression, like, I don't want this again for a couple of months, because it's just, like, there was a lot there, man. So it's a meal that I feel like should have really hit, but I just got, like, quite unlucky with it. But, yeah. It was definitely something, and I'm also going to do a quick music shift as we go into the next day, because obviously after that, I don't think we did much that night, actually. It was one of the few nights where we decided not to go out. What's the best music for this? Maybe... maybe this. There we are. That'll do us. We'll take this for the next day, which, as I kind of already slightly spoiled, our next day we immediately got the first train down to Yokohama, because we wanted to see the goddamn Gundam. Oh. And this thing was, I mean, what else do you say? It's like a 12-story tall giant robot that walks around. It's fucking great. Like, there's not really, like, you know, if you don't get why this is cool, seek help, is all I can really say. Because this boy, like, moved around. They had this full, like procession that'd go every, like, half an hour or so, where they'd have, like, a bunch of, like, you know, voice actors of the anime from, or this is assumed from, like, you know, one of the original, like, Gundam animes, like, do this overview of these things that, like, walked around and then crouched down and have, like, the full, like, scores come in, which my friend who's super into Gundam recognized all of them. I was just there for the big robot, honestly. I just thought that was cool. But, damn, music going hard again. Let me, I think that's louder now. Oh god, that's definitely louder. Okay, I'll leave it there. And hope that's not too bad. But yeah, at least according to OBS, I am double the, volume of the background audio a lot of the time, so I have to trust that it's alright. But yeah. So we saw this thing wander around a bunch. It was great. There was a little, kind of, souvenir shop next to it. Where, like, I bought myself a little model Gundam kit. Of exactly this, actually. I've yet to build it yet, but, like, when built, it looks exactly like, you know, exactly like this dock as well. Oh, I totally forgot to mention, actually, you can see people up on these two, like, platforms that are blue on the right. We did also go up there and see it, like, walk around while we were up there, which is very cool. Yeah. But yeah, big robot, and then they had this little museum next to it as well that had, like, all the kind of, like, different bits of engineering that had gone into it. And this bit I personally really enjoyed, which, was, this, like, this big kind of, like, wall as you, like, left the museum bit, and it's just, like, It basically just reads like, we wanted to build a giant robot. But why, people said. We built it anyway. Just like, we built it because it was fucking cool, and we grew up on Gundam, and we wanted to, like, honor it. And, like, honestly, fucking bless those lads. Bless those lads. And, what else? Yeah, so that was basically, well, part of our trip to Yokohama. While we were there, we also went to the Cup Noodle Museum, which was very interesting, you know, all in Japanese, and they wouldn't let you take many photos inside, so I haven't got many photos of it. But, it was very cool. Where do I want to go now? Try here. Oh, actually, no, wait, better idea. Had no idea you could see IRL Gundam. That was super cool. Yes, it was so, literally. Oh, my God, this is going super hard as well. I need to find more. Ah, here we are. This'll do, this'll do. There we go. Sorry, I'm trying to find some calm background music that isn't, like, too out there. But yeah, the Gundam was super cool, and I can highly recommend it if you're ever over in Japan. Apparently, in, like, about, 7, 8 years' time or something, for Gundam's 50th anniversary, they're building one that's, like, even bigger and does more stuff. Which is fantastic, honestly. I will be back there to see that at some point, if it kills me. Because, it was great. And the Cup Noodle Museum was cool as well. Like I said, it was all in Japanese, so we picked up what we could from it. And they wouldn't let you take many photos in there, but yeah, it was the story of the one guy who made it. You know, originally made it like, so it made it as like an easy solution for people who were like, you know, didn't want to have to queue up for fucking ages to get ramen, which took a while to cook. Like, it was a bit more instant than that. And then he took a trip over to America, and so all the Marines were kind of like using cups to do their, like, you know, essentially hold their, like, rations while they, like, poured, you know, boiling water on them to cook them and that. And he was like, oh, I'm stealing that. And then that's how kind of Cup Noodle became to be. And, yeah, and then supposedly in his, kind of later years, is also one of the fundamental, people behind, like, how they got, like, space rations to work. Like, apparently Cup Noodle was, pretty at the forefront of that. But yeah, died a couple of years back now, I think, the dude in charge. But, fairly inspiring story, I suppose. But after that, we went back to, it wasn't Shinjuku. I forget where exactly it was. I forget, yeah. I forget where it was. It was still in Tokyo. It wasn't too far away from, it was like a couple of trains away from where we were staying. But we went to a bar. A very special bar. And those of you who know, who can probably tell by this point. But we went to a JoJo bar, baby. Entirely JoJo themed food, drinks. They had the anime playing on a TV screen there. They have every bit of, like, manga and Blu-ray and figure known to fucking man. This place was fucking lit. And they really put attention into the details with their drinks as well. So they had like they had the way it worked was that how do I explain this? Yeah. So the way it worked is that they'd hand you a menu of, like, basically a bunch of famous lines from JoJo, and in order to order, you had to, like, say the lines back to the waitress when she came over, and, like, she was dead enthusiastic about it as well, which was great. But yeah, like, essentially you just quote the show a couple of times. You could probably say 2 random well-known lines. You'd end up with, like, a couple of drinks and some food. It was great. So, like, the first one, which I shamefully cannot remember the quote for now and could not remember the quote for then, was, like, a line from Season 1, which is, "I reject my humanity, JoJo!" And so I got this kind of, like, you know, this kind of, like, whiskey glass-looking thing. And also, for some of the drinks, they also have extra little things they bring with them. So, for my first drink, for the I reject my humanity, JoJo, I got the stone mask that transforms Dio into a vampire, which was fucking sick. And this thing was, like, very well detailed. Like, even, like, had the inscriptions on, like, the inside of the mask as well. This thing was fucking sick. And then I'll show you my next drink, and I'll see those of you who are JoJo inclined, maybe you can guess it from just this. But, can anyone tell what this drink is? I'll give you a few seconds. Alright, that's enough for you to mentally have a guess anyway. So, your, correct answer to this, obviously, is the, Caesar Z Zeppeli, or as I ordered it in the bar after a couple, the Caesar! Oh. God, yeah, this place was great vibes. And a very fun night out. I had quite a few drinks in there, and I would have quite a few drinks in there again. Yeah, whoops, click on that again. Right, well, our music does appear to have stopped. Ooh, hold up. There we go. So, I guess it's time for day 17, which would be the final day. Let's, I'll get a bit of this going. Maybe just a little quieter. There we go. So, day 17. Now, our plan for day 17 was simple. We'd done a little bit of scouting in Akihabara, but we hadn't bought anything there yet. The reason being because we didn't want to lug it around all Japan. But on our last day, we take whatever funds we have left, we go to Akihabara, we buy as many things as we can reasonably carry home from the figure stores. Like, we just spend the day shopping, essentially. And we come back with the haul that we, you know, as much of a haul as we can. I've essentially, again, I think these photos are a bit more of a figure graveyard for me, in that, like, they're things I wish, like, so badly I wished I could have had. But, alas, it was not to be. So one figure that I would have really fucking loved to have been this Subaru figure. Or even the Ayame figure next to them, honestly. But they were both sold out, and that was real tragic. What's my... Oh, God, hold on. Oh. I've just remembered one other thing we did in Akihabara that makes me shudder. So, for the culture and for the experience, I was not convinced, I will say, dragged to a maid cafe. Yeah. Now, let me tell you. You know how, if you ever played something like Persona or something, you know how the maid cafes are like, it's a thing over there, but like to us of a Western perspective, it's like, and no disrespect to the people who are working there, you know, they're doing a solid service. But you know how it feels a bit off coming from a Western perspective? Like, I'm trying to avoid using the word cringe because I don't want to come across derogatory. But you know how it's just a bit like, ooh, I'm not sure about this. Yeah. Well, turns out the real life one is way worse for that feeling. I do not want to call, like, you know, I mean, like, I was in this thing, kind of just internally screaming and dissociating for an hour, because, like, I don't particularly want to call my, you know, waitress who's serving me, or don't want her. Can't believe you got dragged into a maid cafe. Oh, it gets so much worse. It would get so much worse, Mimi. Like, I don't want my waitress to call me master. That feels very weird. Not entirely comfy with that. I don't want to have to repeat back some, you know, onomatopoeia for shaking stuff. You know, in order for them to, like, pour my drink. And I especially do not want them to hold my fucking food hostage until I fucking go like, they literally said, oh, before you eat, you've got to go moe kyun your food. And I'm like, I would literally rather die. Like, you couldn't say no was the problem. Like, you had to. But God, I almost had this suppressed. And this one photo has brought back such fucking memories. Like, they they held my food hostage until I went moe kyun. Like, help. That's considered a war crime in my country. Oh. it was a whole... It was an experience. I have had that experience. I will not be going... Like, no disrespect to the staff, who are all doing a bang-up job. It is not my vibe. I will not be going back there personally. If you want to try it for yourself, be prepared. My soul would have left my body. Right, it was at that point that I just, like... Oh, God. I cannot even tell you what unbelievable amounts of fucking copium got me through the rest of that. But, yeah, it was an experience, okay? We did it for the culture, and we're not fucking going back there. No, exactly what I'm saying, Mimi. Yeah, like, no offense to the maids, but not my thing. Yeah, like, they were doing a great job, you know. They'd had these 3 fucking, you know, foreigners turn up, and they were doing their best, you know, do the whole mage stick in English, but obviously I feel like it doesn't carry across as well in English because you get unironically called master, and it's like, I don't know you. Like, you know, I guess I did kind of sign up to this RP by coming in here, and I don't want to be super awkward about it because that makes your job harder, and I don't want to be an inconvenience, but also at the same time, I am internally screaming, and oh god, help. Because, like, you can't just leave early either, because that looks super rude. So, you're in there for, like, the full fucking meal. Oh, God. Yeah, and the food was, like, it was okay. I mean, it was, by Japanese standards, it was okay. I mean, the piplup on the omelette was cute, I guess, but... God, yeah. In the nicest possible way, and I mean, no disrespect to anyone who worked there. Never again. Not for me. Oh, well, what have we got next? Something other than the maids. Oh, cool, cool, I've gone straight from the maids to depression combo. So this was a figure I found in a little kind of like, you know, the 5th floor of some random building again. Some figure shop. They did take up the entire building, to be fair. It was like on the 5th floor of it. This figure of Jaden Yuki. Now, don't know if you know about me. Liked my Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot when I was younger. You can probably actually tell by the fact that last stream ended up with like 3 figures of like Slifer, Obelisk, and Ra. You know, the 3 Egyptian gods from Yu-Gi-Oh! So, I am a big fan of my Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm not a fan of the modern stuff. I like everything up to fusions. I could maybe be talked around to synchros. Anything Xyz and beyond can fuck right off. But, you know, I liked good, kind of more standard, a bit slower, fusion-based, Yu-Gi-Oh!, you know? I also have, shamefully, watched the entire Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime purely for nostalgia reasons. Front to back about 4 times. It is not what I would call a good anime, but God, I kept going back for more. There's always for me the disjointing like about season 3 or 4, whenever it is, where it goes from, whoa, you know, we're at a high school for like, you know, duel monsters, and I've got to, you know, duel so I don't get kicked out, to fucking main man Jaden here, just turning around and saying like, I have become king of the dark world and murdered all my friends. Which is a legit thing that happens. In that anime. It's very, very strange. It's a very, very strange thing with lots of, like, filler, and I wouldn't recommend sitting through it all. But I have multiple times because big nostalgia. And God, I wished I could have bought this figure. But there was some slight technical mishaps with it in that, like, I saw it for this price and I checked online. I was like, oh, that's a lot cheaper than the online price. So I asked the server about it, and they were like, oh, sorry, this one's a bit scuffed and it's like missing pieces and that. And I was like, no! I was like so close to getting the perfect figure from this trip, and like, I would have moved mountains to make that work in like my bag space. Cause I know it's a bulky fucking box, but like, I would have made that work somehow. But alas, it was not to be, because it was just, you know, it was a bit scuffed up and missing bits. So, and that figure looks really hard to find. Like, that's a 200 to 300 quid figure that I could have got for about 120 there at that price, because that's about what 22,000 yen comes down to. But yeah, it wasn't to be, but I was so close to finding the perfect figure. I think I actually came back with 0 Yu-Gi-Oh figures, because like I was going to get like a Dark Magician girl, but like Weirdly, in Akihabara, I found less of a selection of Yu-Gi-Oh figures than I did in, like, Den Town in Osaka. So, if I had any advice for aspiring figure shoppers out there, if you are going to Osaka and Tokyo, remember that Den Town has a very good selection, honestly. If you don't mind it being a bit more, brazen, shall we say, with its, because, like, Den Town, where all the figure shops are and all the card game shops are, it's like, you'll find, you know, along there, will just be like, oh, you know, card shop, figure shop, place that's literally just selling porn, card shop, figure shop, literal brothel. And, like, they're not subtle about it at all. Like, you will just see, like, a fucking big cutout of, like, some woman with her titties out. Just kind of there on the street. And she's like, oh, okay. That's a thing. Moving on. But yeah, honestly, Den Town, great selection of figures. And clothing, actually. I got a really, really nice, Edmund Honda hoodie from one of the places there, and I'm super glad I bought that. Because I think it might be the best thing I bought in Japan, to be fair. Like, that's probably my top purchase, and I'm kind of sad I haven't got a photo of the article of clothing itself, but this is a really nice jacket. My friend wanted one that was very similar, but it costs like 4 times as much, because, you know, EVA. But yeah. Anyway, we finished up our shopping in Akihabara, and then we kind of tucked into our final meal, which obviously had to be big old ramen. And not just a big old ramen. I had like pork ramen in this, you know, broth, which I'd cracked an egg into, because they bring an extra egg along on the side. I had some extra pork. I had some, like, fried chicken and spring onions on a bed of rice. I managed to demolish it all. I can only assume whatever place the thoughts in the maid cafe were going was also where the food went, because I had room for all of this, somehow. And yeah, that essentially was the final bit of the trip. Like, the only thing we really did the next morning was get up very early, get some trains over to the airport, fly back. So I guess the only thing I will say about that flight back, actually, is that, so we got up at, like, 4 to get to the airport. Like, we got up very early. And we got back to the UK at about, 7 p.m. So 4 to 7 p.m. is what, like, God, it's some number of hours. What you've got to remember, though, obviously, though, is that Japan is 8 hours ahead of the UK. So by the time I got back home, because that was at 7 p.m. we got to the airport, you know, London Heathrow, and then it took me like an extra, 1 to 4 hours, shall we say, keep it vague, to get back to where I lived. So I had been going for something like somewhere between 20 and 26 hours by the time I got home, straight. So I, like, literally just kind of got back and then passed the fuck out, because, Jesus, that was a long day. But, yeah, that concludes my Japan trip photos. That is part number 2, all done. Yeah, I have to say, on the whole, I fucking loved that trip. And I think every time I look back at the photos, I like it a little bit more, which is always a good sign. I do want to go back there at some point. I know I have some friends who couldn't make it on that trip who want to go at some point. So maybe, a couple of years' time, I'll be back over there. And I'm having a bigger suitcase so I can get more figures back. God, if I see another Jaden Yuki, oh boy. Boy, am I coming for that figure. But, yeah. Or any other good figures, to be fair. Yeah, I can reasonably show some of my friends around, some of the good bits. I want to go one day. I can highly recommend it. It's, it's got its quirks, obviously. And, as an aside, if I can give one bit of advice to anyone going to Japan, learn how to use chopsticks before you go over there. Very, very few places are like, particularly the authentic places, are like geared up enough for Westerners to have cutlery. Like, just learn how to use chopsticks. Just do it. It's not too bad, once you've got the hang of it. And you're going to need it when you're over there. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyable trip. I hope to be back there one day. Que sera sera, or something like that. So with that, I think I'm going to hop back over to this screen. Just so I can conclude the stream properly. So, thank you all very much for watching this stream and the past stream. I'll be back to... I should be, because I think I might actually get a weekend to do things next weekend, as opposed to having to go and visit relatives after this trip to go and, you know, tell them about the trip. Because that's all I've been doing for the past couple of weekends, Jesus. What's the word? Where was I? Yeah, thank you for sharing your trip, no worries. But yeah, I should be back to regular 3 streams a week next week. I've also got some things in the works, like I say, potentially Sunday evening, have a look at my Twitter. I may be advertising for something that you know, if there's any aspiring VTubers, or PNG tubers or anything of that ilk, watching this, I may just have a collab opportunity for you. But yeah, more of that when I release more details for it, which is when I get them in order myself. Until then, I will see you next time. Farewell.